All right, guys, let's get started. Ready? Hope you guys had a good chat with your teams and all the labs went okay. So, this week's lecture. Anybody want to volunteer to come up to think through some stuff? Any volunteers at all? No? All right. Anyone? Riddle me this. What is more important? Water or iPhones? Water. That's a surprise. Why is it that water is cheaper than iPhones? It's so important. Why is it cheaper? Well, first of all, tell me, why is water important? Why is it important? Yes?
You can't go 3 days without it.
You can't go 3 days without it, true. Any other reason why it's important? Yes?
We need it to basically run all our other systems, like manufacturing and energy.
Yeah, it's important for manufacturing and energy. Anything else? Any other reason water is important?
It's a basic human right.
It's a basic human right. We can talk about that on Wednesday. Yes?
It's irreplaceable. If we run out of water, that's it.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, we have the water cycle, so some people might say it's impossible to get rid of water, but we need fresh water for sure. What about salt water? Is salt water important? Why is salt water important? Even though we can't drink it. Yeah.
Significant habitat?
It's
Significant habitat?
yeah, it's significant habitats for other animals that we eat, right? So we can tie that up with the manufacturing stuff. Any other reasons water is important? Yeah? Transportation. It's a huge means of transportation. What about iPhones? So let's just recap why water is important. We need it to live, we need it to get around, and we need it to build things. Not to mention, it's a habitat for other animals that we eat and watch and do other things with. What about iPhones? Why are iPhones important? Are they important? Yes?
Communication.
You gotta speak up.
Communication.
Communication, that's pretty good. Any other reasons iPhones are important? Yes? You gotta speak up.
Information.
Information, yeah. You got the Wikipedia, all sorts of, the sum total of human knowledge is on iPhones, yes.
Navigation.
Navigation, GPS, yes.
Is the widespread communication and information kind of enforces transparency?
Transparency, yeah. You get to know who's advertising to you, who's watching you. This kind of stuff becomes available to you with iPhones. What's existed longer, water or iPhones? Everybody together?
Water.
Well, iPhones sound pretty important. Communication, navigation, information, those are really important things. But we seem to have gotten along pretty well without the invention of iPhones in 2007. So why is an iPhone more expensive than a bottle of water? Yeah.
More materials go into it?
More materials go into it? Okay, yeah.
One's man-made, one's natural.
Okay. We'll talk about these reasons later. Yeah.
Abundance.
Abundance. What do you mean by that?
There's a lot more water than there is iPhones. I guess that's what it's put.
That's interesting point. Any other? Yes.
The amount of skilled labor that goes into like creating an iPhone versus walking.
So skilled labor. So we got labor, we've got materials. Yes?
The iPhone lasts a lot longer than a bottle of water does.
Sure. An iPhone is more durable. Water evaporates sort of quickly. Yes?
There's competition when it comes to selling water.
And is there no competition when it comes to selling iPhones?
Not specifically iPhones, no.
Can you? Well, let's try digging in now. So when you want to buy an iPhone, is there only one iPhone place you can buy from?
Not one iPhone place, but there's one iPhone that you can buy from. Like
Well,
one Apple, one company.
So I'm recording right now on what's commonly called the iPhone 7. So that means there were at least 6 other iPhones before that.
But it's all made by Apple.
It's all made by Apple, but is Apple the only one allowed to sell iPhones?
Yeah.
Well, maybe
They're the only ones that make iPhones.
they're the only ones that make iPhones. But what if I have this iPhone, I want to sell it now? Am I allowed to sell it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to buy an iPhone and don't care whether it's used or new, so they have competition that way. Okay? Let's talk about materials and labor now. So it takes a lot of labor to make an iPhone, sure. How much labor does it involve to get water, fresh water, to a tap or to a bottle, in a bottled water facility? Is it obvious that it takes less people? Right? So to get fresh water, we have a well or we have the lakes. Those go through the filtration system. Huge number of people had to build that filtration system. You have the filtration plants, the treatment plants that treat the water, make sure it's safe to drink. And it's got to go through the sewage systems and the piping systems to get to the factories and the houses, etc. That takes people and maintenance. And then goes to the bottling plants, they treat it as well and all this stuff. Lots of people are required to just make tap water. And then all those people again, plus more, to make bottled water. So lots of people are involved in making water. Lots of materials also go into making water, even though you just drink it. You need glass to drink it, the glass takes materials, etc. All sorts of technology in treatment, water treatment. And iPhones, we all know they have the Foxconn factory in China. They have the design by Apple in California. Those are lots of people. But let's talk about abundance now. So you have abundance. You have, which is more abundant, water or iPhones? Water is way more abundant. Relative to iPhones, how much does water cost relative to iPhones? Would you say a good approximation would be 0? It's basically free. Water is basically free compared to the cost of an iPhone. And that's because we have so much water available that the relative cost of producing it is virtually 0. And it's been like this for many, many centuries. You read papers and articles from the 1800s talking about this issue, and they will also say water is so abundant, it's practically free. What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about subjectivism. Why? Well, we're talking about value, really. So value, what does value come from? So we just talked about how iPhones are not as important as water, but they still are more valuable in some sense than water because of abundance. Let's dig in further now. How many iPhones, well, let's think of it this way. In what sense is an iPhone more expensive? Are iPhones more expensive than water? In what sense are iPhones more expensive than water? You got a question? Yes? In the monetary sense, okay. Yes?
By mass.
By mass. Okay, that's really good. Yes?
Their scarcity.
So let's go back to mass. Do you buy iPhones by the kilo? Or what unit of mass do you buy iPhones in?
In iPhones.
In iPhones. So by the unit,
Yeah.
right? And then when you buy water, you also typically buy it either by the bottle or per month usage, right? So the unit is also important for comparison. What are we comparing? We're just comparing units of iPhones and units of water. When you are looking to buy an iPhone, are you looking to buy all the units of iPhones? or not? Say it together. All the units or not? Not. You're looking to buy some specific number of units. When you're looking to buy or value water, are you looking to buy or value all the units of water or not? Not. You're looking to buy one iPhone or one bottle of water or one 18-pack of water, right? So we make value judgments based on individual units. Does that make sense so far? Value is another word for importance. Something is important to us based on the particular unit available. When somebody says, oh, water is so important, yeah, water is really important as a whole. But an individual glass of water, in our society at least, is so prevalent, virtually free, virtually almost valueless, because it's so abundant. We live in such wealth and richness that we have drinking water available on demand. You go to a restaurant, you just ask for a glass of water, they're not mad. Wow, they'll give it to you for free. We talked about labor and materials. Let's, does the fact that someone put a lot of effort into something make it more valuable? Just because you put a lot of effort into making something, does that make it more valuable? Yes? Can you explain? The longer it takes to make something, people put a higher value on it. Let me think of it this way. What if I was walking around on campus and I found an iPhone on the ground? I just found it there. If I go to, well, let's say I also put it on the campus lost and found website, no one claims it. No one claims it, so campus police says it's yours. So I just got this iPhone without me putting any effort into it. Can I sell this iPhone for the same price as any other iPhone of same build quality and type? I didn't put any extra effort, I didn't pay a dime. I just found it on the ground. Do I sell it for the same price or do I sell it for significantly cheaper? Same price. So what does that tell us about the amount of labor or materials going into making something with respect to their value? Is it really important? Do you value something? Well, when you go to buy something at the store, do you look at, say, a roll of toilet paper or a pencil? You look at a pencil. We talked about this in our seminars. How much effort goes into making a pencil? Do you sit there and ponder? Wow, it takes so much effort. It takes all of human civilization together to make one pencil. So I guess I should pay all of the money I have for this one pencil? No. It doesn't matter to you how much effort, per se, went into making something. But you still can place importance on it. Why? Because value, in being, remember, value is synonymous with importance. Value is subjective. What do we mean by subjective value? Who knows what I mean by subjective value? Yes?
You can have like different amounts of value to different people and how you view it.
Different people can view the same thing, can value the same thing differently. Okay? For me, I don't care how much time someone invested in making a pen or a pencil. I just want something that gets the job done for me. I will value the thing relative to how much it gets the job done for me. Some people say, no, I want, an artisan, handcrafted pencil. And so you will be willing to pay more for that experience, for that product. Any questions so far? No. Easy. Subjectivism, we can break it down into several aspects. The first thing we call, as economists, self-interest. Self-interest does not mean the same thing as selfishness, does not mean greed, does not mean a lack of altruism. When we say self-interest in economics, we mean you're not a robot. You're making the decision yourself. How you value something, you're not valuing something because I came up and whispered to you, you should value it.
Unfortunately, the camera stopped recording for about a minute. We continued talking about self-interest, which is simply having your own values. We then talked about rationality, which is simply acting consistently with your own interests. Because your self-interest is subjective, your rationality is too. If you subjectively believe that there is a ghost grabbing at your leg, then it is rational to kick your leg away. This is true whether the ghost objectively exists or not. In economics, something is only irrational if it is done subconsciously. Moving on to the next topic, scarcity.
So, we have scarcity. Scarcity means we don't live in a world of superabundance. That means another way of thinking about scarcity is that if you want to use this pen for something, and I want to use it for a different purpose, we can't both be using the same thing for different purposes. If that's ever possible, then we don't have scarcity. Let's say we live in a world where everything is available to you at the snap of your fingers. You're just sitting around, you snap your fingers, and then you can get a steak dinner in front of you, you can get a fur coat on your back, you can get someone to fan you with palm leaves. You can get all this stuff done at will. Does scarcity exist in this world? Who says no? Why not?
Because there's no limit to how much stuff you can have.
Okay. Anyone agree or disagree? Yes?
Time would still be scarce?
Time would still be scarce. If you're living in this world where you can have a steak dinner at the snap of your fingers, you can't have your steak dinner and also be enjoying a vegan ice cream at the same time. That makes sense? Scarcity always exists in our human bodies, at least when it comes to time. And we know through experience that in all the physical things that we have, if I'm using a pen, you can't also be using a pen. If I'm driving my car, you can't also be driving my car. We have scarcity in all sorts of things. And you value scarce things. Is the sun scarce? The sun in the sky. Is that scarce? Who says yes? Yes, sir. Why?
Because there's only so much fuel in the sun, eventually it'll run out and die.
Eventually, yeah, but right now. It's a bright sunny day out. Is it scarce? Yes.
It's not always going to be a sunny day in like Arctic and Antarctic, like they don't get sun.
Yeah, we've got nighttime, we've got cloudy days, right? So you make hay while the sun shines. You've heard that expression? The sun isn't always there. But do you value the sun? How do you value the sun even though it's not scarce? And you like the sun. You can go tanning in it. It gives energy to your food and to you. It gives you vitamin D. How do you value the sun? How do you value the sun? Yes.
We prefer spending time in places outdoors, and we prefer having properties that like have windows to let light in.
Yeah, you value the sun by doing something about it. You buy a house with bigger windows. When the sun is out, you go outside. You do things while the sun is out. Makes sense? The way you value something is by doing something about it. Last one on this section. Opportunity costs. Also just known as costs. The opportunity cost of something is the opportunity you gave up to do that thing. It's the highest valued opportunity, by the way. If you didn't have a Monday 1:30 p.m. class, what would be the next thing you would be doing? Would you be sitting at home playing video games? Would you be reading for your 2:30 p.m. class? Whatever you would be doing instead, that would be your opportunity cost. If you go to a store and you want to buy an iPhone for $1,000, what you would have bought instead of that iPhone for this $1,000, that's your opportunity cost. When we broke the window, the opportunity cost of the window was the suit that was never made. Okay? It's the highest value thing you could have done but didn't in order to achieve something. It's the highest value thing you give up to achieve something. Here's a quick question to see how much you get. Let's say you won free tickets to some band that's playing. I don't know. Paul McCartney. We all know Paul McCartney. He's coming to Guelph, let's say, and you win free tickets to Paul McCartney. And they've got your name on them, so you can't sell them to anyone. Okay? So you've got this Paul McCartney ticket with your name on it. No one else can use this ticket. The same night as Paul McCartney is another concert that you would like to go to. You would be normally willing to spend $50 for this other concert, but right now tickets are for $40. What is the opportunity cost of going to this Paul McCartney concert? Who says 0? Let the record show 0 people said 0. Who says the difference between the $50 you would have paid and the $40 that you ended up paying, that's $10. So who says $10? 1, 2, 3. Okay, just 3. Who says it was $40 that you actually paid? 1. And who says it's something else? 1, 2, 3, 4. Most says something else. Okay. So we'll do more of these questions later in the year, but I'm glad that none of you said 0. This is, the opportunity cost of something is never 0. That's what you should take away from that. Yes?
When we're talking about cost, do we mean like monetary cost, or do we mean like experience or like joy?
In economics, all costs are opportunity costs. When we talk about monetary costs, that's the money you could have spent doing something else. And that other thing is what is the real cost. So breaking the window cost $1,000, but what would you have done with $1,000 instead? You would have bought a suit or whatever. The thing that you didn't end up doing because of that $1,000, that's your opportunity cost. Any other questions on, yes?
So what's the answer you asked us?
We'll tell you later, but it's 100% not 0. The opportunity cost of something is never 0. Okay? Any other questions on subjectivism before we move on? Opportunity cost, rationality. Okay. Let's talk about efficiency. efficiency? Someone tell me what efficiency is. Yes?
You know, just like how fast you can do something.
How fast you can do something? Okay. Yes?
How you can do something while limiting the cost.
How you can do something while limiting the cost. Interesting. I saw a hand up. Yes?
That's kind of what I was gonna say, doing something like effectively with the least amount of resources.
With the least amount of resources. Okay. Yes?
What you get out versus what you put in.
Ah. What you get out versus what you put in. So, on how much resources you're using. Let's say I wanna build an iPhone, and I spend $1 million in building a factory and hiring workers and designers, etc. Is that efficient or inefficient? Is that efficient or inefficient? Is spending $1 million to build an iPhone efficient or inefficient? Yes. Depends on your profit. Your profit is your output, is what you get out. What you put in is the cost. And is the cost something objective? Is it something, you measure costs in just the amounts of timber or metal or silicon chips? Is cost objective? Yes or no? Yes? Cost is objective? Cost is subjective. That was the last thing we did. Efficiency, so cost is subjective, and efficiency is how much you profit versus the cost of the thing. So is efficiency objective or subjective? Who says objective? Is efficiency objective? Who says yes? Who says it's subjective? Good. Efficiency is subjective. Something is efficient if doing that thing, the benefits you get are outweighed by the costs. As long as you're doing something where the benefit is outweighed by the costs, it's efficient. Now there can be more efficient and less efficient, but that's up to you. Someone else can't tell you if what you're doing is efficient or not. They can maybe say, hey, have you thought about it doing this other way? Maybe you'll get more outcome. But they can't just declare you as inefficient, just like someone else can't declare you as irrational. Efficiency, just like rationality, is subjective and personal. Let's talk about comparative advantage. Who knows what comparative advantage is? Has anyone heard the term comparative advantage? So comparative advantage, we make a distinction with absolute advantage. So absolute advantage is, let's say you want to, so you're a student, you're a university student, that means you're literate. So compared to a first grader, you have an absolute advantage in writing an essay, right? But comparative advantage is the amount of relative resources, relative cost, opportunity cost, it takes to make something. So you're a university student, it's true that you are much better at writing an essay than a first grader. But let's say you want to, I don't know, clean some dishes. A first grader, you can teach a first grader to clean some dishes. What does it make more sense to do? So who cleans more dishes? You or a first grader? Who thinks a first grader can out-clean them when it comes to dishes? No one. So you can clean more dishes and write more essays than a first grader. But if you had the choice, if you had only an hour to spend, and you had to either clean your dishes or do your essay, and then you also had a first grader with you, what's more efficient? You writing the essay and the toddler, or not toddler, I guess first grader, cleaning the dishes? Or are you doing both the dishes and the essay? Anyone have an idea? Yes?
I would say it'd be more effective to let first grader do the dishes when you write the essay.
That's a good start. Anyone disagree? Anyone thinks it's better for you to do both the dishes and the essay? Good. That's comparative advantage. Comparative advantage means you can trade with someone who's worse at you than doing everything, but they still save you time. Does that make sense? People who are worse at you at everything can still make you better off, and because you're trading with them, you're making them better off too. It's a win-win. Lawyers, they can do their own scheduling, they can do their own typing. Why do they spend so much money hiring a secretary? It's because they can then use that time they would have spent scheduling and typing, making appointments, on the lawyer that they charge $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 an hour. And then they pay the secretary $50 an hour, $40 an hour. Good money. But they get more done. They get more, what to them is more valuable things done. When the secretary, they get to do something else. Any questions so far on comparative advantage? Yes?
Isn't it like delegating?
It's not delegating. You could delegate with, you can use comparative advantage through delegation, but you can also do comparative advantage through trade, through exchange. When you go to a grocery store and you buy a tomato, you're using the comparative advantage of the farmers in making tomatoes. Anyone in this part of the world can grow tomatoes in their own backyard, but it's costly. You gotta buy the plants and the seeds, and you gotta water it all the time. So what do? Is you find someone, especially in the winter, find someone on the other side of the planet who's cheap for them to make tomatoes, and it's warm, they're in the southern hemisphere. They send you their tomatoes, and you send them money. Yes?
Does comparative advantage only work if you gain something? Like, what if in your head it makes more sense to do both things instead of give someone else something because you can do it faster?
You could do it faster, but you would get less done in total. So the idea is you would get, in an hour, you would wash 10 dishes, or you would get 10 pages done of your essay. But if you're doing a mix, you would get 5 pages done and maybe 2 dishes or something. So you can do calculations that way. Yes?
So is comparative advantage the act of making that trade, or is it the principle?
It's the principle. It's the principle. We do trades because of comparative advantage. You got a question? Yes?
What is the first grader getting out of washing dishes?
In this example, it could be whatever. You could be paying them. You could be giving them a pat on the head. But again, we apply comparative advantage to anything, all trades in the economy. When you go work for a big corporation, your boss probably can do your job better than you, but they have other things that they can do. So they pay you money to do the stuff that they can do better. Isn't that a strange concept? They can do something better than you, but they're paying you to do it worse. Because having you around, they still get more stuff done in total. They get comparative advantage allows you to get more stuff in total for both parties. Yes?
So they would get more stuff in total, but would you have to counter that with the money being lost?
Yes, so you're always on balance, right? So comparing what you're giving up to what you're getting, this is how we explain this. Someone does something, someone delegates a task or trades away something that they can do at a much more efficient rate, but relative to something else that they can be doing, it makes more sense for them to get someone who's worse at it than them. Any other questions? Yes?
What if it
comes to quality over quantity, so what if the person can obviously get more done and is more of a better quality, but then they hire someone else to do it, but then they do get the stuff done, but it's of less quality?
Quality and quantity are they objective or subjective measures? Is quantity a subjective measure? Is 5 a subjective measure? No. Quantity is objective, quality is subjective. But quantity, the unit, is subjective. So what is a quantity of water? You can say 1 cup, but is the cup like a full glass to the brim? Is there a little bit of space left so if you tip it, it doesn't spill over? That unit is fundamentally subjective. And this is a great point. What counts as a good at all is totally subjective. It's totally subjective. If you're building a car, is 1 tire the same thing as a set of 4 tires? No. If you want to buy a car, you buy tires in sets of 2 or 4. You don't just buy 1 tire. To you, if you're a certain car builder, the subjective value is the number of tires. It's what you can do with those tires. A glass of water, is it filled to the brim? Is there a little bit of space left for you to tip it safely? If you're making a pencil, there are qualities of the pencil that you want. You want a certain shade of yellow, you want a certain tip on it. All these things are subjective, up to you. And then when you're making contracts with people, you try to express in your contract what your standards are in order to exchange money. Does that make sense? Any others? Yes?
So you said efficiency is subjective.
That's right.
What I don't understand is, I feel like efficiency is just a ratio. It's just a percentage of what you put in to what you get out. So I don't understand how that can be subjective.
So what's the unit? On top? Dollars?
Sure.
Okay, what's the unit on the bottom?
Well, it'll be dollars in versus dollars out.
Dollars in versus dollars out.
And
is $1 to you worth the same as $1 to Bill Gates?
Okay.
Does that make sense? These are great questions, guys. Any other questions? These are really important concepts, so any confusion you have, yes?
I guess building on the point about the first grader watching issues like really badly, like in some situations, where the work that you delegate is done so badly that you have to then go and do it again, and then it effectively costs you time.
Yeah.
Is that a factor in earning advantage, or is that something else?
So we're assuming that the person is still getting the job done. So if somebody's messing around, someone's just not even doing their job. You hire the best lawyer, and instead of doing the lawyering for you, you just sit around playing Game Boy all day. That's a bad contract. Well, it might have been a good contract, but they didn't keep their end of the bargain. People lied instead. So was anyone upset about not being able to write the quiz this weekend? No? Okay. So we're going to try to fix things for that by this next weekend, and I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you.